All right, what is going on, guys? It is Adam, a.k.a. Marf, and this is Marfoogle News. Today, we have a crazy show for you. We're going to talk about everything from Los Angeles fire to, of course, Putin apparently planning on sabotaging planes all over the place. We'll talk about all of it right now. Of course, before we do, I do want to remind you guys that you can get a full bibliography over at marfooglenews.com. Again, there is a full source list for all of these articles, so you know exactly where we got the information from. The cost of the Los Angeles wildfires' damage could be at least $250 billion. We were just covering this the other night, and we were looking at kind of the rough estimate at the time. They first said about $50 billion. Again, $250 billion, $250 billion. Again, it says who pays the bill. As of January 14th, LA authorities reported that 24 people perished and over 12,300 structures have been destroyed. Meanwhile, more than 40,000 acres have burned, displacing residents and leveling entire neighborhoods. High winds expected this week have firefighters racing to contain the blazes, which are still blazing. And as the damage increases, so does the price tag. A new estimate by the weather data platform AccuWeather puts the total cost between $250 and $270 billion and calls the damage catastrophic. The full cost of the wildfires won't be clear until long after the smoke clears, and the expensive rebuilding efforts could take years. Which, who knows? If you're talking about rebuilding, some things may not be rebuilt, and some things may actually take way, way longer than they think. So you could be looking at $500 billion, and that's if the fire stopped right now. Again, it is still going. So we're going to head into this and so much more, so stick around. We'll be right back right after this. Nothing in this show should be considered legal, medical, or financial advice. The views of the callers can differ considerably and do not necessarily reflect my opinion, Dex's opinion, or anyone else who works with the show. You should always do your own research and consult with professionals. The internet is full of fake news, so please take everything with a grain of salt. If you have not already, it helps us out if you end up going through any of our affiliates, and it helps you out if you end up protecting yourself against cybercrime. NordVPN is one of the best and one of the easiest to use. If you do not have a virtual private network, it protects your IP address, which is your online identity, which actually connects to your real address and everything else. It also connects to you. If you know anything about how they are data logging and basically getting your profiles down, you can prevent that by having a VPN. Nord is, again, one of the easiest. Download it. It's like an on switch and off switch. All you have to do. Go to marfooglenews.com/VPN. Not only will you get a giant discount on this, but you will also be helping us. I appreciate your support, and I appreciate everyone that goes through any of our affiliates. Can't say thank you enough. All right, the cost of the fires. Huge bill, and who does end up paying for that? Dex, let's bring in my co-host/internet brother, Dex James. What is going on, and how are you doing today?
Well, hello, Adam, and hello, Foogle fam. I'm doing just fine. And yeah, we were just talking $150 billion as being the top end on a $50-60 billion estimate. Now they're saying $250 billion. I mean, this is insane, and that's a lot of money and a lot of loss. Insurance companies are just going to be those that are still covering and be paying out big time, and a lot of people are going to be losing a lot.
This hurts Ukraine. This hurts Ukraine really bad.
Yeah, but bad. It also is good. The question is who's going to swoop in here and like buy up everything. That's that's what you got to pay attention to. Like a few months from now, 6 months from now, who's gobbling up all this what used to be primo land, and what are they doing with it?
Yeah, my guess is it's going to be a colored rock. I can't remember the color. It was a darker shade, but we'll see. And I bet you people like Ian Carroll or others are going to be digging on that quite soon, and they'll probably find out exactly who is buying up all of that land, including land that some of my family owns. Again, one of my family members lost everything. I didn't get to ask if they still kept their car, because I saw they did take a shot of the burning mountains from inside their car. So I'm assuming they didn't get their car. But in the Washington Spokane fire, where my wife's family, my wife's uncle lost his whole property in a fire. He even lost all of his vehicles. His vehicles were there, and they didn't have time to even get those. So, yeah, a lot of people lost their entire livelihoods, everything to their name. And guess what? A ton of them didn't have insurance. So I'm sure, you know what else? They're counting 24 people perishing from actually getting, caught in the fire, right? I bet there's going to be people, and this is something nobody wants to talk about and it's taboo, there's going to be people that take their own because they just lost everything. How many people do you think lost absolutely everything, their entire life savings, their entire house, everything, and it was right after just a few months ago where all of these insurance companies pulled out? And again, everybody says these insurance companies have the best prediction models and things like that, and that's because that's their job, right? But people should be screaming out loud, like, how did so many of these insurance companies, how did they know, specifically after all these years of fire, that they've done this and they've charged these premium things? How did some of them know to completely pull out? Just boom, we're goners. I mean, it wasn't that long ago. And when it happened, we were like, that's kind of strange. We did a show and we said, watch, there's going to be some massive, massive fire that, is just absolutely unbelievable. Fast forward, we're here. And then Russian missile attack forces Ukraine to shut down power grid. So I'm going to get into this, but I do want to pop over to the chat real quick. Thank you, everybody that made it here today. And let's see here. I did want to say thank you. Thank you, Carlton Sutton, watching and waiting. Jonathan, I appreciate you guys. There was somebody that I did miss shouting out yesterday, so I'll make sure by the end of the show to get to them. Let's see here. Let's see. Let me pop up. You know what's crazy is half the time one of these channels or the other doesn't pop up even if you look for it, and it switches between the two. All right, Arctic Blue, what is going on? Get ready for the cold next week. Yeah, the whole polar vortex. Let's all applaud Americans for giving PDIS a platform. Fatty DeBoombo, what is happening? WS Jens, Mark Roberts, North Carolina in the house. Brian and Debbie McCartney, nice to see you. Duper's Delight from Newscomb. Do you want to hear something funny, Brian and Debbie McCartney? Newsom actually just tweeted today, and he says, I've been called Newscomb before. I can handle that. But, that doesn't matter. It's about the people that need aid. Let's see here. Covington, Washington in the house. Hey, nice to see you. I didn't know. I guess it's public now, but I guess Ian Carroll is local. I would love to get that guy on the show. TJ Dilly, what's up, Marf? No mandates. Let's see here. Chattanooga in the house. We've got Chickens Are Cool. Victor Freeman. Weechie. So many new names. I can't even... I don't recognize half of these names. That's awesome. And Viv B, I know that name. Bobby Sue, know that one for sure. J-Pass. Hey, nice to see you, Susie Q. Let's see here. Nathaniel Williams and Paula Carell. They don't care one bit about the people. That is absolutely correct. All right, and the L Rocker. Nice to see you guys. Gosh, man, there's so many new people. It's like we have a completely different audience right now. And make sure to thank your mods. They are doing an awesome job down in the chat to keep it peaceful. So remember that you have access to them over at marfooglenews.com/friends. And then Russia launched a massive aerial attack against Ukraine on Wednesday, forcing the country to introduce preventative power cuts. The Ukrainian Energy Ministry said the enemy continues to terrorize Ukrainians. Herman Halushenko wrote on Facebook, urging residents to stay in shelters during the air raid alerts and follow official updates. Moscow launched more than 40 missiles and at least 30 were taken down, according to Ukraine. And adding about 70 strike drones were involved in the attack. It remains unclear how many were intercepted. The state energy company Ukrenergo, of course, reported emergency power outages in the Kharkiv, Sumy, Poltava, Zaporizhia, Dnipropetrovsk, and Kirovograd regions. The attack comes a day after Russian Defense Ministry accused Ukraine of firing multiple Western-made missiles at Russia's Bryansk region on the border with Ukraine, claiming in an online statement that the attack will not go unanswered. Well, they're kind of in a war, so it's going to go back and forth. But they're saying that it heavily affected their power grid, and they actually at some points had to shut it off to prevent it from more danger, right? What's funny is most of us really, at this point, don't care. And that's really sad because there are human beings over there. But at this point, it's crazy to me that they are paying closer attention to Ukraine's needs and their wants and everything else rather than what is actually happening right here in the United States. Now, people have called that over the last 4 years some sort of R word. I'm absolutely offended by that because it's insane to think that it's bad to question all of the money going over to Ukraine. The fires that we just talked about in California, half of that money went over to Ukraine. They had $17.5 million cut from their budget at the same time as gifting stuff out like they had extra. I would love to hear from some of the firemen in California. What didn't you have because you guys ended up giving it away during these huge, massive, massive fires? I mean, for a place that has fires every single year, it was just crazy to me to hear that. But it is in the middle of winter, and Russia's goal remains unchanged. Our energy infrastructure, said Zelensky on Telegram following the attack. He urged Western partners to provide Ukraine with additional air defense weapons, emphasizing that promises have been made but not yet fully realized. So this war has continued to go on. One thing I think is interesting is we don't see Zelensky at all anymore. Now that the media doesn't really cover him, you see posts in almost every day's newspaper about what he's saying, but it's always from a Telegram quote, and he's never put all over the news. Whereas if you take just a year, however long ago, it's like they were plastering him all over the place. You couldn't turn on your TV without seeing Zelensky. Now they've kind of backed off of him, probably because the majority, even people that used to support, say this is absolute BS. I'm sure most people that even support it thought, oh, well, we'll send them some money here 1 or 2 times, not, 6, 7, 8 times, and then have them give our stuff away to other countries or even terrorist group. They actually gave parts of their stuff that we gifted them to HTS, which is just gross. And then the Russian Defense Ministry said that it launched a strike on critically important facilities of gas and energy infrastructure that ensure the functioning of Ukraine's military-industrial complex. It didn't give the target locations other details. So we're not getting the full truth on this, even if you look at the other side, which a lot of the Russian news is not circulated through the world anymore because all of the Western nations have kind of put a wall up. But one thing we do know is if it wasn't for all of this money and for all this other NATO infrastructure, we don't think that Ukraine would even still be in this. But right now, Russia is getting more and more allies every time that we talk about this. They picked up North Korea. Now, of course, they're doing different deals and signing treaties with now Iran. Are we going to see Iranian troops in this very soon here? Or are we going to see Russians backing up Iran? What do you guys think? Let me know in the comments down below. And then Putin plotting terror attacks against the airlines in a global wave of sabotage, warns Polish Prime Minister Tusk. So I know that most people's feelers are buzzing right now because if you've been following the shows that we've done on the DHL, planes that had explosives on them and everything else, there was a lot of weird stuff about those stories. Now they're saying that Vladimir Putin has been accused of plotting T-attacks against international airlines in a global wave of sabotage. Polish Prime Minister Donald Tusk claimed that Russia carried out what he described as air terror against airlines in Poland and other countries, and that he is planning to do more. It says that I will not go into the details. I can only confirm that the validity of fears that Russia was planning acts of air terror. Geez, that's one. Sorry, it skipped on me. See here. I will not only confirm the validity of fears that Russia was planning acts of air terror, not only against Poland, and it says these acts of sabotage are versions of the war that Russia has declared to the whole world, not just Ukraine. A slew of air disasters in Europe recently has been linked to the Kremlin by multiple Western intelligence officials. Western security officials suspect that Russian intelligence was behind a plot to put incendiary devices in packages on cargo planes headed for North America. So this isn't actually a new claim. Back when the first DHL stuff happened, and we did shows on both DHL incidents, back when they both happened, this was a thought back then. Now the Polish prime minister is saying, essentially trying to add more into it. This includes one caught fire at a courier hub in Germany and another that ignited in a warehouse in England last year. In November, a DHL cargo plane from Leipzig crashed into a house just a mile before it was supposed to touch down on the runway at Vilnius Airport. The crash actually perished one person. Shocking images, of course, showed the DHL cargo plane as emergency crews rushed to put out the blaze. Now, one thing to think about, and it kind of reminds me, Dex, I thought about that South Korean plane that crashed and slid, and they said that the landing gear, it was a bird strike, but then the landing gear didn't work, and then it slid right into the wall and things like that. I think of stuff like this, like what if there is a tit for tat using airplanes or using this kind of sabotage? What do you think about that? And then also,
well, yeah, I mean, the fact that if it's true that they were doing these activities or at least groups that are tied to Russia were performing these activities in Europe against planes that potentially even were coming to North America, if that's true, then the bigger question is, okay, what else is coming, right? There's got to be more. Just because they figured one thing out doesn't mean that's the end of it. It's not like they arrested a whole bunch of people and they uncovered a big ring and they've got it figured out. All they can do is point the finger at Putin. The inside sources on the JB administration said that they were talking and trying to reach Putin and get him to stop this stuff because they didn't know if he was really behind it or if it was people in his part of Russian support that were doing it, but maybe not directly under Putin. But that's how concerned the administration of America, the White House, was over this. Now, again, it could all just be a big finger-pointing game to set up something that goes down that makes everybody go, aha, of course, it was Russia. You said it all along. They were going to do this, and now here they've done it.
Well, and they're talking about a global sabotage. What is the benefits of this? Does this hurt the airlines? Does this hurt them financially? Does this make people afraid to fly? Is this a scare tactic? Like, why would this actually be done? Seems to me like something like this, if a plane goes down, that's an act of war. So this could also be a Fantastic Freddy where we have a huge cargo plane go down in the United States, and then we use that as the justification to say, go in and say regime change a country. And you look on the other side and you see Russia signing these treaties with North Korea. You see them signing treaties with Iran. What if it is exactly the opposite of what we're being told? And, it's people criticize anybody who questions it, but at the same time, people are complaining about the current people running it. But those same people would be like, well, are you criticizing the U.S.? It's like, the U.S. does wrong things too. Not saying that Russia's good, because now there's this whole thing after the last year of them saying that, what was it, Tim Pool, this company that was running Tim Pool and all these other channels were basically run by this shadow Russian company, right? So now I guess it's kind of funny because everybody pointed the finger and all of these media said, oh, all these YouTubers are just, carrying Putin's water. But that was a really good way to quiet down any kind of dissent. You could just call it Russian, just like the Red Scare. It's like any kind of dissent against the U.S., they go, oh, well, they're a Russian paid agent or something. That's BS. As far as this goes, a plane going down or something like that, that is more than an act of war if they say, oh, Russia did this. And they're setting up all of this evidence beforehand. You see all of these stories for months. Watch us see a DHL or some sort of huge cargo plane go down in Detroit or something, or go down in Chicago, and then all of a sudden it's an act of war and we start sending in troops or something, as if we don't already have them in there anyways. Dex, go ahead.
Yeah, and it may not even be cargo. I mean, they take cargo and put it on commercial flights with passengers. They use the excess space that's left over on those planes to fill it with cargo. So if they continue this path of disguising things as cargo, that could easily be a passenger jet that it happens on. But it also begs the question, like, what else? Like, this was just the one thing, but is there other things they're looking at doing with these planes? And, let's not forget the fact that one was shot down over in an area by Russia, apparently targeting something else, but still, they took down a plane. So.
Some Southern Prepper 1, this is from Tina Mitchell, says Southern Prepper 1 said that his wife and the people waiting to board a flight to Washington, D.C. were held up, and TSA agent was basically shanked their hands and searched their bags before letting them on board. Oh, poked their hands and searched their bags before letting them on board. Well, I haven't taken a plane in a while, so I don't know what TSA is like. I only know everybody thinks it's a nightmare now. I haven't gone since after some of the major attacks. So, in fact, all of my plane trips on a commercial big jet were before that when I was younger. So I don't know what it's like TSA now. I know that they have all that high-tech advanced stuff. Dex, go ahead.
Yeah, I think that's a typo. It's swabbed their hands, because usually when you go through, if they
What?
pull you out of line, they take a little patch and they rub it through your hands, and then they put it in a device that determines if you've had any, if you've been touching anything like
explosives,
gunpowder or explosives. Yeah, that's been around for a long time. It's called swabbing. They swab your hands.
Well, so did how many of you actually watch the Sarah Adams interview? She says that the bad guys, Al-Qaeda, have vests that can get through the airports. Most of you probably know that by now or have heard about that. She's saying that they have this new tech stuff that even the dogs aren't trained to sniff. So the dogs won't catch it either. Even if they have a fleet of dogs that are looking for explosives, that they won't be able to smell it. So I don't know if that's actually true. But I thought about that in the way that, they're saying that there's these coordinated attacks. Tracy K and Tracy Q in the house. Nice to see you guys back to back. And then J-Pass. What is happening? Ryan Alter. So do you think that they're setting up for some big event and it's going to be called into question and then this is what's going to start the war? I personally think it's very possible, but I do think that North Korea and South Korea is going to be what causes it. If you guys did not watch yesterday's show, really, really big development happened where the South Korean president was taken out and detained. Whatever's going on in South Korea, a major ally, why aren't they talking about that right now? It's like the Western government is okay with him getting taken out. He did a martial law in their country for a few hours, stating that there were North Korean supporters on the other side of the aisle that were trying to do nefarious things. Now, magically, after a standoff and having hit the people loyal to him, protect him in the presidential palace, they took him out. They got him out of the actual palace, and they've now detained him. So something massive is happening there. Meanwhile, they've got this whole thing between back and forth with North Korea. Sounds like even Russia or Iran or somebody else is helping out North Korea with their South Korean friends there. Like they have people, North Korea couldn't do something like that themselves if they had a hand in it. It would have to be from somewhere else. And then before we move on, make sure to go check out Grid Down Bug Outs. These are awesome solar generators. They are some of the beefiest out there. They're some of the best built. And, of course, they are all EMP shield protected. We waited a very long time to have these as our solar generators. Again, Energy are great as well. We will have those back as well. But everybody asked us for a higher capacity. And these are all related as far as the Grid Down and the Bug Out XPs and all of these extension batteries. This is a huge capacity upgrade. It's 6,000 peak watts and then 3,000 continuous. So it also has a 30 amp port right in the back of it, so you can use it for your RVs. And they even make the walls. So if you want a cool option, again, that you can actually get, if you get anything over the XP, you can actually get a 30% tax rebate on, then this is it. Go over to marfooglenews.com/bugout and make sure to use the code MARF. You can also get solar panels from them. You can get everything. So if you want to outfit your house, this would be the answer. All right. And let's see here. Costco shipping designated a Chinese military asset by the U.S. Department of Defense. Kind of saw this one coming, but you know what's even scarier about it is if you think about those container weapons. And I apologize, you guys. Tonight I might not be on my full. I have 2 more root canals to do, and I already had oral surgery the other day. So I am just, it is killing me to talk some of these times. And some of the words that I have to say, it's like it pulls on the part that's stitched. It's absolutely horrendous. So I apologize, you guys. I'm usually a better reader and speaker than this. Costco shipping designated a Chinese military asset. Now, Dex, you and I have talked about this for a long time. We've also talked about these container ship weapons. And I wonder if that has anything to do with it, especially after all these claims about the East Coast and the drones flying, and everybody was wondering, like, where are these things landing? Now there's rumors that, you know, containers like this could actually deploy a ton of drones, that the top could open up. You wouldn't even be able to see by looking at it. It still has the structural supports of the walls, but the roof would actually open up and deploy drones. You could land it, and then it would have a huge, massive battery or generator system that's silent, and that it could charge these drones. So that was something on the side that I heard, and then now they're talking about Costco shipping and designating it a Chinese military asset.
Oh, yeah, and thinking about the cargo containers, it's not just Costco. It was a handful of other companies that they labeled, but a couple other ones was a container manufacturers, the China International Marine Containers, and then, of course, 2 shipbuilders like China State Shipbuilding Corp. And China Shipbuilding Trading Company, along with other things like Offshore Explorers and others. I think there's about 133 Chinese entities that were now labeled as military companies. Now, from a technical standpoint, what does it mean? It's, Costco transports military goods for the PLA and the CSSC, the builder of the vessels in the China Navy, but reports have tied that to participating in the military drills as well. So it's not just that they transport the gear. It also means that that they've been participating in these military drills. So it also means that U.S. military operations would not be able to ship any cargo now using a Costco or any of these shipping companies or these ship manufacturers or these containers and containers. So it may change the logistics of any shipments that the military has to make, the U.S. military might want to make. They're going to have to, avoid all of this too. But obviously that's something they want to do.
And as far as the ship maker and all of this, as far as these containers go, it's crazy to me how much of the West Coast and how much of these ports is actually run and unregulated by other, parties. As far as the Chinese have control over huge chunks of these ports, not to mention other countries. What is it, Australia, that has a 99-year port deal or something like that? It's insane that they basically have full control of stuff like that with some of our allies. Erica Hubner, and thank you, Tracy. I appreciate that. Juliana, Michigan Lifestyle, baby Orajel, rub it on you. Yeah. What do I have in my... Oh. In my pocket, I've got... Anbesol. Not an ad for Anbesol, but this stuff works pretty well, but it tastes horrible. It's better than clove oil. My mom used to use clove oil, and I could not stand that. Dex, go ahead.
Oh, yeah, I was just going to add, Costco is the 4th largest ocean carrier in the world. So they're responsible for 10.7% of all container movements worldwide. So you think about that. That's pretty significant that this company that moves, over 10% of all the containers in the world, with, more than 3.3 million total 20-foot equivalent units of capacity, is actually considered a military portion of China now. It's labeled a military asset.
Well, and it says Costco transports military goods for the PLA and CSSC, the builder of vessels of Chinese Navy. Reports have tied Costco to participating in military drills to prepare for a Chinese invasion of Taiwan. So think about that in the fact that they're the manufacturer of these containers. So Costco could legitimately make a Costco-branded container ship that has the military weapons inside. I bet you in the future at some point we will see these being used. Hopefully it's not going to be on us. But what if we do see something like that used with Taiwan? In Taiwan's case, I don't think they'll need it because they're going to just go full bore right into it. But they keep surrounding the island, and I wonder, what if they have a bunch of cargo ships surrounding Taiwan, and then their first strike is from cargo ships from these container launchers? That would be, some top secretive stuff, right? Dex, go ahead.
Yeah, and Lisa Cardin points out a good point that we should make. It's Costco, not Costco. So for those of you that keep thinking that somebody may be mentioning the store we're all familiar with, has nothing to do with that. That's got a T in it. This is Costco, no T.
Yeah, and don't want to get sued by Costco.
Yeah, it sounds similar when you say it, though, for sure.
Costco's connected with the Chinese government. That's how you can get all that bulk stuff for so cheap. It's made in those factories. Just kidding. Legal advisement. And then why Greenland is ready to work with the Donald despite his plan to buy it from Denmark. Greenland is ready to work with the Don, even if they're not ready to become part of the United States. It says, quote, the reality is we're going to work with the U.S. yesterday, today, and tomorrow. Mute Agede, the premier of Greenland, said at a news conference in Nuuk, the island's capital. However, he also had words of caution. He says, we have to be very smart on how we act, he said. The power struggles between the superpowers are rising and are now knocking on our door. That gives you kind of a brief look into this, okay? That means it's not only the U.S. that he's saying that somebody else could take it. So think about this, Dex. I think now they are trying to get Greenland, and they're probably going to say, hey, Greenland, you're about to have Russia on your front doorstep. Russia's about to invade your Greenland. And I'm not saying that this will happen, but maybe this is what is going on behind closed doors. Russia or China or somebody else goes in there and says, we're taking over by force. Most likely Russia, because Russia's already sanctioned to hell and back. Russia takes Greenland and then has this place that's very close to the United States or a direct kind of line of sight kind of thing. Whereas the Donald gets filled in about a month or month and a half ago, then all of a sudden goes on this kick like, hey, we're getting Greenland, we're getting Greenland. What was in his briefing when they were saying, hey, we're going to give you your kind of debrief to be president? What was in that all of a sudden he wants Greenland? If it's not the end of the world and a meteor is coming to hit and that's the last place alive, after everything burns, then what else is it? Well, the thing that makes most sense is that both Russia and the U.S. have interest in it because whoever doesn't do it, the other one's going to get it first. Are they just going to leave Greenland to be Greenland, right? Both Denmark and Greenland repeatedly have said that the island is not for sale, despite the Donald's repeated entries in to purchase it. The president-elect has not ruled out using force to take it, arguing it's a national security issue. So what did he hear in those meetings that made it so important right now? We're not going to be told. Greenland is strategically important and also home to many rare earth minerals important to technology, which that makes a lot of sense too. Denmark holds nominal sovereignty over the island, an arrangement dating back to colonial times. The Don's words raised alarm in some sectors. Denmark and the United States are both members of the NATO alliance and have been allies going back to World War II. So there's also talk about how the Don in general has, said, hey, we might even pull out of NATO or we might get out of NATO. What if they end up fighting with Denmark? How does that work? And we've talked about this before, Dex. Like, what happens if one NATO member goes after the other? I guess didn't it not apply because it was only if I forget what they would do if two NATO members ended up going to war with each other. Then it would depend on the circumstances, I guess.
That's a mess for sure. But Greenland is considered NATO because it's been part of it since the 40s, I believe.
So then that takes away from my side theory that it's so if we take power, then we could put military bases, we could put all sorts of stuff there. We could already do that. We could say, hey, Denmark, right, we want to put missile launchers or missile defense systems there. So what the hell do they need Greenland for? Other than if they want to put more there to protect it from a Russian invasion or something. I don't know what the hell's going on, but that's
we did
weird.
Try to buy it in the past. We've tried numerous times to buy it, and we failed. But we do have a base there. We do have the Patufic space base, used to be called Thule. It's I think the only military or massive sized military base there, and it's a U.S. base, obviously.
Yeah, I don't really see it. If you guys have any kind of theory on this, let me know. And by the way, hope between the dreams. Thank you for gifting out badges. I appreciate that. Laura Gittins, thank you so much for the super chat. I appreciate that. Thank you for supporting independence. And we have the Dawn's new Ukraine envoy issues warning to Iran, says maximum pressure must be reinstated. Dex, do you want to go over this one?
So again, with these envoys, we talked about in the news show earlier about the one that went over and negotiated with Israel for the ceasefire in the Strip against Hamas and getting the release of all of the those that have been captive there. That's a done deal, apparently. But now another envoy that they have is the special envoy for UKR in Russia. And that group has been also saying that they need to apply, and I don't know how, I guess this does indirectly apply to Iran, but they came out saying specifically that they need to apply maximum pressure to Iran. And we go back to this whole notion about Iran being, a potential, threat to have nuclear weapons. So it says, I believe this year should be considered a year of hope. It should be considered a year of action, and it should be considered a year of change. This was Kellogg who was on that council, but he also said that they've specifically need to apply a policy of maximum pressure against Iran. It must be reinstated with the help of the rest of the globe, and includes standing with the Iranian people and their aspirations for democracy. Keep in mind that goes back to the message we heard from Israel as well, talking about how do they empower the people that are there that don't want the existing leadership in Iran to continue leading, and they want to overthrow or topple or change that regime, so to speak, and move more to a democratic or democracy model than what they have right now. So typical MO for overthrowing or toppling governments and changing regimes, something that the West is very good at. We've done it for many, many decades. And this doesn't seem far off when you think about all of the different types of tactics that could be used against Iran. Everything from going straight up after their nuke bases to, going in and potentially creating massive protests and getting people to overthrow, so to speak, their own government and change the leadership there.
Yeah. So there are things that way, way above our heads that are in the works right now. We'll be following it. If you want all the updates, make sure to hit that subscription button and, of course, hit the notification bell to all. And then Erdogan says Turkey can crush all terrorists in Syria. So the whole Syria thing in general is some big, huge op, in my opinion. This whole thing has U.S., Israel, Turkey, everybody wrote all over it. President Tayyip Erdogan warned on Wednesday that Turkey had the power and ability to crush all in Syria, including the Islamic State and Kurdish militants, while urging all countries to take their hands off Syria. Basically saying, it's mine. Don't get your hand out of the cookie jar, right? Even though Turkey wasn't the one doing hundreds of strikes, Israel was, and same with the U.S. All of these groups, where did the money come from? I would love to see that Turkey, right before it happened, shipped out $375 million or gifted out drones to them. Since last month's fall of Bashar al-Assad, Turkey has repeatedly said it was time for the Kurdish YPG militia to disband. Ankara considers the group, which spearheads the U.S. allied Syrian Democratic Forces, as an organization. So we've got them supposedly on two different sides. Yet again, another kind of ally where we've had all of these issues in between us. Ankara said that the new Syrian administration must be given an opportunity to address the YPG presence, but also threatened to mount a new cross-border operation against the militia based on northeast Syria if its demands are not met. Speaking in Parliament, Erdogan said that the YPG was the biggest problem in Syria now, and added that the group would not be able to escape its inevitable end unless it lays down its arms. Regarding fabricated excuse like Islamic State, these have no convincing side anymore. Erdogan referring to the U.S. position that YPG was a key partner against Islamic State in Syria and that it plays a vital role in guarding prison camps where the Islamist militants are kept. It says, quote, if there really is a fear of Islamic State threat in Syria and the region, the biggest power that has will and power to resolve this issue is Turkey. He said, everyone should take their hands off Syria, and we, along with our Syrian siblings, will crush the heads of the Islamic State, the YPG, and other terror groups, organizations in a short time. So something super shady is happening here. Obviously, there's so many hands on Syria. It's hard to tell who really is behind this. Dex, go ahead.
Erdogan this is all a power play. Like, there's always been this conflict between on most things like Syria, Libya, and other locations between Turkey and Iran. They both are large. They both have strong armies, similar to, like, say, Egypt, but Turkey is really big. And this is their opportunity to basically grab power, greater power across the Middle East. Iran has fallen out of Syria, and if that's the case, then Turkey wants to move right in. So for them to make these statements, these are all positioning statements to sort of reinforce to the world, to the globe, that, hey, Turkey is the one that should come in and be in charge. Turkey is the one that can, bring peace or crush the bad guys, so to speak, as they're saying, even though some of the bad guys they want to crush are U.S. sponsored ones, which might even question why they're U.S. sponsored if they are labeled as T groups. But nonetheless, this is a huge power play for Turkey to gain a greater control of the Middle East. They want to have more control. They are a very large nation, a very strong military, and if they can grow that presence, that's what they're after. It's the same thing Iran was after when they were trying to control everything from, Afghanistan to Iran all the way over to Syria and Iraq. So, they're both competing in this area.
I wonder how much of this is livable. It looks like it's mountainous territory, but Turkey is very big. All the way from here, all the way over to way beyond that. Is Cyprus? What is Cyprus part of? It's
independent.
It's independent, so it's its own place.
I think it has its own conflicts going on too.
Yeah, don't they conflict with Greece, or don't they have their battle or something? They were just in the news last year or the year before that or something. And then you look at places like Saudi Arabia, how much desert that is. Like, Saudi Arabia is giant, but look at all that. That's not livable. All of this, it's just crazy to see, like, how logistically, how would you live here, right? How did they do that? Did they put, just giant hundreds of miles? What is that? 300 kilometers is this from here to the water? Did they do a 300-kilometer pipes or something to get everything there? Yeah. Logistically, how do you live in the middle of the freaking desert? And we're going to talk about the Puerto Rico governor asking him to intervene after Venezuela's Maduro threatened to invade the U.S., of course, the territory. I do want to remind you guys, make sure to go check out EMP Shield, though. Highly recommended, especially anytime that there is strife like this, the risk goes up. You can basically put this in once, and then you don't have to worry about any of the stories about this. Again, this protects your cars, trucks, motorcycles, boats, generators against EMP. Electromagnetic pulse attacks, again, from an adversary. Iran, Russia, North Korea, pretty much all of them have this ability, including some that fly above Kansas every other day. But also it can protect against a solar event, like a Carrington-level event. So go over to marfooglenews.com/EMP. You'll get $50 off per device, and you will also get yourself protected. Again, marfooglenews.com/EMP, code MARF, and you'll be also supporting us as well. So thank you guys. And then Puerto Rico and this whole situation. So Venezuela's Maduro, why aren't we getting an update on the woman he kidnapped? Like that's another thing. Is there an update to that, by the way, over the weekend? I didn't see anything about the oppositional leader that they said came out in public, and then they snatched her. Is there an update for that, Dex? Because I have not seen one.
I'm looking.
It's like his oppositional leader, they said that there was this, pick the Prez day that happened, and many believe he's straight up lost. Well, then they were like, nope, we won, and too bad, and had the military's help, and basically the oppositional leader, who they say won and should be leading the country, had to go in hiding. She was in hiding until just a few days ago, came out in public and said, I'm done running, and then they kidnapped her. At that place, they said they violently intercepted her and took her. And now you're seeing stuff like this. Venezuela is definitely teamed up with, of course, Brazil. They are teamed up with Iran. They are teamed up with Russia. So something massive is going on here. Definitely teamed up with some of our adversaries there. And they're planning something. I don't know what's going on here, but they were talking about taking Puerto Rico. And they very well have a easy way there. How far is that? Here's Venezuela, and then you have Puerto Rico right here. They could easily get there and do it before anybody could even respond, depending on where our ships are. So, yeah, I don't know how serious that people are going to take this, but it is a U.S. territory. So you can obviously know that we would be on one side of this. Or is something else going to happen? I'm not too sure. Dex, did you find anything about it, or is there nothing? I'm quite surprised.
Yeah, I can't really find anything other than the what we reported on, which
That's
was
crazy.
that she was taken. Yeah, there's not really an update. Somebody said they spoke to her, but I'm trying to figure out, is that they spoke to her before this happened versus the date on it. But yeah, no.
They should just say that she's like a United Healthcare CEO or something. Then they'll find her. I don't know. I'm surprised. But the stuff that goes on in these countries, this is also the same place that bred the TDA gangs that were taking over neighborhoods in the U.S., still are. That's another story that just kind of disappeared, yet it's happening. And then folks are coming into the country still to this day. I mean, I can't imagine. We have 5 days left until they switch power. They say that they're going to do the biggest deportation thing in ever history. I mean, we're about to go through some crazy hell, even if there's no disaster in the next 5 days. Like, this is going to be nuts. Buckle up, because it is going to get crazy. Yeah, if there is an update on her, we'll look at it tonight. And on tomorrow's show, we'll try to update you guys. I do have 2 more surgeries on the 2nd. And actually, they're trying to move up one of my surgeries. So I might actually have another surgery in a week. So I will make sure to always check the community posts. I will put it there if we are not going to have a show. We're going to try to do earlier shows. Again, we've been trying, but certain things have been popping up, especially with all of the stuff going on with the dentist. So thank you. All right, Dex, thank you so much. I appreciate your support and your help tonight.
Much love. Great job, brother.
And let's see here. Laura Gittens, thank you so much. And I appreciate but Hope Between the Dreams. Thank you so much. I believe you are a top supporter tonight, with number 2 being Laura Gittens. Thank you, and thank you. I've debated, but I am not going to be doing a shout-out tonight because it's going to kill me. So I will see you tomorrow, and I will have Laura Gittens and Hope Between the Dreams both on that one tomorrow. So I love you guys. Be safe, be prepared, and Marf out. I hope everyone has a blessed night, and I hope that everybody gets, again, food, water, and medicine first before they do anything else. Have a good one, and thank your mods in the chat by dropping an M right now. All right, you guys, be safe, be prepared, and Marf out.